Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to yet another episode of Before the Free Count. We are here today to start yet another series this week. I know we're just giving you the content this week. We gave you the recap of Raw on Tuesday. We gave you the vlog from WrestleMania on Thursday. And today, on Saturday, the night of Backlash, we are giving you our very first episode of Spotlight on SmackDown. Yes, this is a brand new series that we will be doing where we will be going over what has happened on SmackDown this week. I'm currently recording this on Saturday afternoon, getting ready for Backlash. I hope you're excited. I am really excited for tonight. Remember, we're going to be live on TikTok if you're watching this on the day it comes out or listening to this on the day it comes out. And there will also be a highlights video tomorrow, which will probably come out either Sunday night or probably Monday morning, going over our thoughts of what we thought of Backlash. But we haven't had that yet. We have just had SmackDown, and let's get to it.
Are you ready?
We are Before the Free Count, wrestling for the fans, by the fans. Your number one place for wrestling news, rumors, and all things wrestling. Charlie and Callum are two regular guys that met at a wrestling convention and now are bonded for life.
Not word bonded.
And now they talk about wrestling in their spare time.
We're back. New series. This is Before the Free Count. So come along for the ride. Hi everyone, Charlie here. Sorry to take a bit of time out in the vlog for you, but I wanted to talk about our sponsor, the amazing WrestleCrate, as you may have heard here. What is a WrestleCrate? Well, let me tell you. WrestleCrate is a monthly subscription box for people like you, that love wrestling. What do you get in this box, you're probably wondering? Well, let me show you. Autographs from people like Daniel Bryan, Lita, Godfather, DDP, Kane, Sting, the Hardy Boys. Well, what else do you get? Well, maybe you get a cool poster like this one, cool key rings, even pretty cool Lucha Libre puzzles like this. Cool pins like these, and you also get awesome t-shirt just like all of these. It's the best part, because you come through us Before the Free Count, you can get yourself a free WrestleCrate with your first order just by going to www.wrestlecrate.co.uk and using the code BTTC, and you get a free box with your first order. How awesome does that sound? So what are you doing sticking around here? Go and get yourself one. Okay, so now we've got all that out of the way, let's get to how SmackDown was this week. And I thought this was a brilliant episode of SmackDown this week. A lot of tag team matches. Did surprise me how many we had. I really enjoyed it. So let's go through it, run it down, and go through what went down. So we started off with a little chat between LA Knight and Damian Priest backstage, talking about, if we, work with each other tonight. Just to make you aware, we're not going to be working with each other tomorrow, when we are going against Jacob Fatu and Damien and Drew McIntyre as well for the United States Championship, which of course belongs to Jacob Fatu. Speaking of which, it was him and Solo Sikoa who they were going against in a tag team match this very evening to kick off the show. So how did I think? I thought it was a great match. I thought it was a really good match. Had a lot of back and forth. Very, very interesting. But of course, the main thing that came out of it was that LA Knight and Damian Priest were not playing ball with each other. Oh no, that was not happening. We had some very interesting moments where both of them could have worked together and won the match. But of course, their rivalry got in the way, like always. And it took Solo and Jacob not very long to take them down. And of course, the match lost. They were both very angry with each other. Jacob went to go and celebrate, but just as he was celebrating, out of nowhere comes a Claymore from Drew McIntyre yet again. He's going for him, attacking, and, fair play to him, as he said in his promo backstage later on, that I'm coming for you, so I'm Solo? No, it's not coming for Solo. I'm coming for you, Jacob, with a silver bullet with your name on. He also said, I don't know why these other three are in the match. Why have we got to have LA Knight? Why is Damian Priest there? I destroyed Damian Priest at WrestleMania, and of course somehow he's wriggled into this match. LA Knight, you've not been relevant since the last time you had the championship. Your time has been and gone. But of course, no, apparently you guys have got to get in my way yet again. Which, fair play to him, I do kind of agree with. Why is Damian Priest in this match? It would make more sense if it was actually a fatal... not a fatal 4-way, that's what we've got. A triple threat match without LA Knight. I know that sounds a bit mean of me, but it would make more sense. Damian faced Priest at Backlash at WrestleMania, and Jacob has the United States Championship that Drew is after. So he'd have two people that, could have worked together, and he's not got anyone on his side in this match, which I thought was quite interesting. If you're going to make it a fatal 4-way, you've got to at least make two of them work together. And I kind of thought one of them should have been LA Knight or Damian Priest, because, they're both after the title. So it wouldn't have been Damian Priest. Why LA Knight's not working with him? Maybe he will. Maybe after tonight, we've learned that he actually will work with him. But I don't know. Nevertheless, we will move on from there. But again, great start to the show. Thought it was brilliant. Now we move on to the second fight of the night, which kind of, it was made official there and then on the night. It was started with a little promo or a backstage video with Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, and I never remember the other one's name. I do apologise. Mourning that Chelsea Green has lost the United States Championship, which we saw last week on SmackDown. Of course, she's rudely interrupted by Nick Aldis, the manager of Friday Night SmackDown, and the winner of the United States Championship, Miss Zelina Vega herself, who were, mocking her, like always. And, she was, Chelsea was saying some words. She was saying, like, well, it's nice to have friends around you when you're going through hard times. You haven't got any friends. She went, you don't think I have any friends? Okay, then why don't one of your friends, maybe Piper, come with me, and I'll bring out one of my friends tonight to face you in a tag team match. So we went from a tag team match to a tag team match. You're going to start seeing the cycle here of what was going on SmackDown this week. So we head straight to the ring. Piper comes out with Chelsea, and of course the other one, which I can't remember the name of, it's killing me. Anyway, they come out, go to the ring, rapturous applause or boos or whatever you wanted to call that. It was a very interesting audience tonight. Like, I'll get to it later, because if something went down at the very end of the show involving the audience, we believe, but yes, very interesting crowd is all I will say at this point. Anyway, moving on, Zelina Vega comes out, and of course we're waiting, thinking who's her partner going to be, who's she going to be tag teaming with. But then of course the music hits, the crowd goes wild. Some hillbilly looks absolutely shocked, which was one of the best cams to the audience of the whole night, by the way. And Miss Alexa Bliss comes out. Alexa Bliss has returned to WWE the night before Backlash, which I thought was really, really interesting. Of course, she returned at Royal Rumble in January this year, and she was in the Elimination Chamber. She was actually the person I picked to win the Elimination Chamber. Of course, didn't go that way. However, she had a great match tonight. Really, really good to see. It wasn't a long one. Quite a short match. Worked very well back and forth. Brilliant rope work from both of them with their jumps off the rope and, I don't know what you call it. Really, really good work. And their timing was very, very good as well. I really noticed that tonight. Alexa Bliss has improved quite a bit. Not that she needed to, because she was already fantastic. But there was a lot in there tonight that I was like, okay, that's new. Very, very, very happy to see her back. Really want her to get another push now. There's been speculation for a while that she's going to be joining the Wyatt Six. I'd like to say it will happen, but I don't know if that's actually the right move anymore, considering we haven't seen them on telly for nearly 3 months, which is, I think, quite ironic, because 2 years ago, it was around about now, since 3 months since we last saw Bray Wyatt, and then of course, sadly, his passing came about in August. So, no disrespect to the Wyatt Six. I think what they do to bring the legacy of Bray Wyatt back and remind people of how amazing this guy was is incredibly important. And that his presence should still be around. I'm 100% for the Wyatt Six working. I don't know why people are against it, going, oh, it's not really, doesn't really work very well. It works fantastically if they can pull off the stories. I mean, come on, guys, look at the way that, when Bray Wyatt was promoting Uncle Howdy and all of that, and, the build-up to the Wyatt Six, and when they eventually did come and they trashed all of the Raw backstage, the build up to that stuff is what works. It's brilliant. It makes you want to tune in every week to find out what's going to happen, because there is this darker side to this team, and it's a very story driven, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And if they could just connect that with a storyline, and Alexa Bliss jumps in and it makes sense, I'm all for it. But I feel like it's getting to the point where it needs to be consistent. It is my honest opinion. It needs to be consistent that, I'm not talking about their appearing every single week. I'm not talking about them being the main story. I'm just saying, it would be nice if we saw them, every other week, once a month, just going, hey, we're coming out for someone else. And then, we have a storyline that runs for about, 2 or 3 weeks. It leads up to one of the pay-per-views. It'd be great to see that. And if Alexa Bliss can jump into that and it works, brilliant. But at the moment, from what we're seeing, I don't personally think it's the best idea, considering you're going to throw her in with them not having any presence and Alexa only having her first proper match back. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I think she had a couple on the build-up between, because of course she had to qualify for the Elimination Chamber, so she did have a couple between Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, and then for some reason she was completely pulled from WrestleMania. For no one really knows what happened there, because she was supposed to have meet and greets at WrestleMania World, and there was posters for her. There there, but there was no appearances. The appearances got cancelled, and I thought that was very, very interesting. The appearances got cancelled, considering people like Sheamus were still doing theirs, and they had no presence at WrestleMania. But they were still doing stuff, which I thought was very interesting. But nevertheless, I'll be very interested to see where this goes. But really happy to see Alexa Bliss back now. Moving on, we then cut to, I think it was halfway through before the match actually started, we cut to a promo of the man that returned only recently, Mr. Aleister Black. Yes, Aleister is back, and he is, cooking something up. It looks, I've got to say, so here's my thing. The promo was fantastic. It was dark, it was creepy, it was cryptic. We knew he was going for Carmelo later in the show. It was brilliant. Here's my problem. The match wasn't fantastic. And I don't think that was any of their fault. I think it was the amount of time they were given, considering how many other matches they fitted into this SmackDown. Because let's be honest, it's very rare that we actually get a SmackDown where you have 4 or 5 matches. Well, 6 matches, I'd say. 4 is usually the normal. But, 5, I think we had nearly 6 matches tonight. And maybe it's me just not paying attention, but it felt that the matches were taking more presence, because a lot of the people that are supposed to be there for Backlash are already over in St. Louis, so they couldn't really talk about that. The only person that was there was Cena and Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. I think they were the only ones that were there that actually had a match the next night, genuinely. So, they'd put the 4 guys on at the beginning, so then they could get out and get on their flight, and they put Cena on at the end so he could get off, and he'd get the private jet, obviously. So I think that's why they did it that way and why they squashed a lot of matches together. No criticism to them. I just think that in terms of Aleister Black's match, it wasn't enough time. It was good. It was really good. Also, have I missed something? Why is The Miz working with Carmelo Hayes? Didn't know that was happening, but it's really good to see Miz back in a role, and very good to see him in a role where he's outside the ring. I think Miz is fantastic in the ring, but he is at the point in his career now where he is there to put guys over. We know that is the case. It's the same with Becky Lynch. She's not there to win anymore. She's there to put people over. However, I do have an inkling that she might win tonight, because she'd then be a Grand Slam champion. Be interesting. I don't know. But, I think because of that, it was cut a little bit shorter than it should have been. But nevertheless, the match was great. I just don't think it gave either of them enough time for them to put either one across, if you know what I mean. But, it happens sometimes. Some matches just get cancelled on the night, just happens. But anyway, that is what I thought of that match. Moving on quickly, we are going to what I thought was very, very interesting and a bit all over the place was Charlotte Flair. So Charlotte appeared before the Jade Cargill match. Have I got to that one yet? No, I haven't. So Charlotte came out and she started talking to the crowd, started getting boos like always. And she was saying stuff like, I had the best women's match of the night. I had one of the best matches at WrestleMania. I think it was one of the best women's main matches at WrestleMania of all time. All this stuff to kind of, get the heel persona over, get the crowd booing and all that. These are things they say, for that. And then, I don't know where they're going with this, and I think it'll be quite interesting. She said, either start paying me respect or I'm leaving, because they didn't start paying respect. You ask the crowd to do the opposite, they're going to do. You ask the crowd to do something, they're going to do the opposite. It's the way it works in this world, let's be honest. So she said, start paying me respect. So the boos only got louder. And she went, okay, one more chance. And she went, okay then, I quit. And leaves. And just walks out of the ring. And then Jade Cargill's music hits. Charlotte stopped where she was on the ramp. Jade Cargill walks past her, giving each other a little, glare. And then just as Charlotte got to the door, she picked up the mic and went, hey, Charlotte, your time's up. Get to the back of the line. You're old news. It was something along them lines. And she walked out. And we went on to the match that went on afterwards with Jade Cargill. I'll get to that in a minute. But we cut to a promo later in the show where we have Nick Aldis and Charlotte walking down the corridor, him telling her, you can't do this, you can't just walk out. She went, well, I deserve to be respected. It's my own choice. She went, well, come back in the locker room and be the leader, like how you're saying. She went, well, the locker room's in chaos. And then just as she goes, she says, take me to the airport, and the door slams shut, and Alexa Bliss is there. Now, here's the thing, and I don't know if anyone else did. There was some brief words from Alexa Bliss. The problem is the crowd was so loud you couldn't hear them. So I don't know what she said. But she said something. And that was that. And then, obviously, it fades to black. But I thought that was a really interesting way of, doing a promo for Charlotte tonight. If you're going to go down that route, at least have some kind of gravitas to the reason why. You can't just have you keep on booing me. But I don't know where they're going with that. Maybe I've not put the two together. Maybe we are getting something between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. I don't know. I think it will be very, very interesting to see. But moving on, as I said, Jade Cargill was in the ring by this point, and we moved to the next match, which was the number one contenders match for Tiffany Tiffany Stratton only said Tiffy time, but it was Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton's Women's World Championship title. So the winner of this match would go on to face Tiffy at some point. I don't know if it's going to be next week or they're going to make it build up, or I can't remember if they put it on the screen, when they go, matches next week. Can't remember if that was there. I don't believe it was. I think I would have remembered that. So let's have a look here. So how was that match? I thought it was brilliant, I have to say. They worked really well together in the ring, Jade and Nia, which surprised me. Because I didn't really know how this was going to go. I was like, I kind of know who's going to win this, but it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. They worked really well together. They gave equal amount of times to each other to, try and get the free count. There was a lot of really good ring work and a lot of really good rope work, jumping off the rope and, flips and all that stuff. That's what I call it. I call it rope work when they do all that stuff. Athletically, it was brilliant, I have to say. Really impressed with Jade Cargill, but was very impressed with Nia. It wasn't her best performance, and I think I've said this before, I'm not the biggest fan of Nia, but I was impressed. I was impressed with her performance tonight, I have to say. But of course, that was going on for a while, and then all of a sudden, we see Tiffany get up and, start going towards the ring, but just as she does, out of absolutely nowhere, Naomi comes and just smacks her down. Of course, that then sends to a distraction, getting Jade's attention. Jade goes over. Just as you think that she's about to get involved, Nia throws her down, jumps, and does the Annihilator. 1, 2, 3. And Nia Jax is facing Tiffany Stratton for the Women's World Championship at some point. I think it was obvious it was going to be Nia that won because of the way that story's been growing, with Tiffany being the one that was beside her when she was champion. She then got Money in the Bank. They were working together. Then you had this thing where she was saying, you can cash in, but never on me. And there was always this, she wanted to, but she didn't. And eventually she did. And I thought it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. Is this leading to a Jade Cargill and Naomi match, though? I think that would be quite interesting. Maybe it will. But am I being stupid here? Didn't we just have that? No, we didn't. Yes, we did. We just had that at WrestleMania. So what the hell's going on there? Are we going for round 2? I can't believe I forgot that. I was there. Come on. So I guess we're going for round 2, or this story ain't over yet. But, I've got to admit it, the women are killing it at the moment. They're absolutely killing it. And this isn't just on WWE. This is on all big promotions at the moment. AEW women's are killing it. Toni Storm is probably one of my favourite wrestlers, period, at the moment. I know we don't talk about AEW. If you want us to, we can, just let us know. But we mainly stick to the WWE stuff, just because there's a bit more consistency in storylines and easier to follow. But yeah, I'm really impressed with everyone at the moment. In most companies, like seriously, it's really, you can see why we are at the midst of waiting for what I've heard is a rumoured AEW all-women's event and Evolution 2 at some point in September, October, is what I've heard. It's not been confirmed. I think it's been confirmed they're doing it. I don't think it's been confirmed when or where. But you can see why they've chosen, this current time to do it, because I said this on our WrestleMania wrap up. The women killed it this year. I always say fatal four way when I mean triple threat. The triple threat between Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair is one of the best matches I have ever seen in person. It's up there. It's got to be up there in the top 5 best women's matches at WrestleMania. And I don't think that's even arguable at this point. Because I've gone back and watched both nights, and even when I was watching it then, I was just still in absolute awe of everything they were doing. I mean, when we do get to Evolution, whenever that is, Io Sky has got to be headlining it. She's got to be. After, I'm going off here on a tangent, but I can't put it over enough how impressed I've been with the women in the last few months on all sides. But yeah, very impressed by that match. Very, very impressed. Now, let me have a look at my notes very quickly. What happened after that? We then had a very quick promo backstage later in the show with Nia and Tiffany. Tiffany said basically everything and just said, don't worry, because once you're done, you'll be back of the line and at the losers table. But I'm sure that once I beat you, there'll be a seat for you at the loser table. Probably right next to Charlotte. I thought that was brilliant, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. And then we went on to what... These were in different orders, but just going down the list, because I've put some of them in, where there was promos and then matches. I've spoken about them already. So there was there was the Aleister Black match, if you're going in order here. But of course, we've already spoken about that. Next up was possibly... Well, for me, it was the match of the night. And we had Fraxium come to the ring and start getting excited. And then out come the Street Profits. And the Street Profits are actually saying, we've seen your work, you've been good over the last 2 weeks since you've been here. And they say, well, you know what? Why don't we have a match for a title chance? And they're like, whoa. You've been here 2 weeks. I don't think you're ready for that yet. But, of course, then Nick Aldis comes out and he announces another tag match. Can you believe it? It was one of those nights. It really was. And then we went into what I think was the match of the night, which was the Street Profits versus Fraxium. Incredible timing. Some of the best ring work I've seen by both of them in quite a while. By the way, I know we didn't speak about it, but that TLC match last week on the Street Profits, oh my good God, that was iconic. That was one of the best. I said this on Raw, but we didn't have a main event tonight. But if there was one, it would have been these guys again. I don't know when they decided to start really pushing the Street Profits again. It must have been just before Mania, because since then, and they've got them titles. I get it, they've got the titles, that's why they're getting a bit of a push. But oh my God, the matches they are putting on at the moment are incredible. The match tonight, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Every single time I thought the match could end, they were jumping in and stopping each other. And some of the ways they were stopping the match. I mean, when they had... one of them had them down on the mat, and you saw... I'm not good with their names. But I'm trying to remember their names. Fraxium. I know one of them's Axiom, and then the other one's something... Oh, damn it. Anyway, you had the guy with long hair from Fraxium on the ropes, and you had the bigger one from the Street Profits up on the rope, Angelo Dawkins. There we go, remembered him. Pull him up on his shoulders, and just as he went for the two, they went flying over each other, and he landed to stop the count. The timing to do that must have taken forever to get down, and it was things like that they were doing. It was some of the stuff like they were doing stuff like They were giving tributes to like the 619. They were throwing each other out the ring. There was a moment where they went back and forth off the ring, and one jumped onto one of them on the other side of the ring where the posts were, and then the other one jumped there and went the side where the camera is. Then they jumped back in the ring, did the same thing again, and they went for the opposite person. And it was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And the best thing is that Fraxium won, so we're gonna get to see this again. And the thing that I loved was, and we don't see this often because we're always in the middle of telling stories and stuff like that, but there was real mutual respect between all four of them at the end. They shook each other's hand and they raised each other's hand, and I felt like that was a bit of a throwback to, I never remember who it was, but the first time that kayfabe was broken in the Hell in the Cell match many years ago, and someone took a photo of it and it was all four of them. I can't remember who it was particularly, but someone was leaving, I think it was during the Monday Night Raw era, Wars era, and one of them was leaving for WCW, I think. But this was like the first time people had ever seen wrestlers who are supposed to be against each other show some kind of like, mutual respect and go, we are really friends. And they did that tonight. They raised each other's hands. I thought that was fantastic. Cannot give enough to them. The other guy's name's going to come to me anyway. Angelo Dawkins. There we go. Angelo Dawkins is the one I said. Jesus. Montez Ford. There we go. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins with Axiom and... No, but seriously, credit to Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, Nathan Fraser and Axiom himself. It was just an incredible match. Just, guys, take a bow. It was perfect. We then had our last match of the night, which I thought was quite interesting. We had El Fantasma versus Rey Fenix and Andrade. It was all right. It wasn't amazing. At the end of the match, you had Santos Escobar get very angry with Angel, who was his partner in this match. It was another tag team match, if you didn't work that out by now. And he hits him a bit, and Angel slaps him back and jumps out the ring. I thought that was very interesting. By the way, I could have got the name of I could have got Angel confused with the other one. I'm not very good with El Fantasma because the members keep on changing. So, I know Santos Escobar's in it. I know he's the ringleader. Come on, guys, give me a chance. But no, I thought the match was okay. It was Rey Fenix's probably least interesting match he's had since he's been in WWE. I don't know why. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed something. But I just didn't find it very entertaining, this match. It kind of was put there for the sake of them saying, well, we did have a main event, because the main event really is what we're moving on to now, which is, of course, John Cena. John Cena. Of course, John Cena walks to the ring. We've got absolutely nothing on the screen apart from his name. He's got his world undisputed WWE Championship tied, so we can't see it, so it's around the back, so we can just see the strap part on the front of his waist, holding up the towel backwards like always, saying the last time is now. He jumps in the ring and he just starts off with, tomorrow night I'm gonna ruin your childhood. I was like, oh, okay, that's one way of doing it. No, he didn't. There was something. How did I forget that this? Almost forgot one of the most important things that went down tonight. Of course, he gets the main man to come to the ring and introduce him, and does the old, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the greatest of all time, the 17th World Heavyweight Champion, the GOAT, the last real champion. And just as he got to say that bit, someone threw a bottle. I don't know if it was... People were saying, oh, it was plastic. It didn't look like one of those plastic ones, I'll tell you that now. It looked like one of the metal ones. I mean, obviously it's not glass, it's in an arena, they don't let that stuff in anymore. But I don't think it was a plastic bottle. It looked like one of the metal ones. Maybe I'm wrong. But it didn't hit him hard, but it hit, seen on the, thigh near the ankle. And, and he was just about to carry on, introducing him, and he just turns and just goes, picks up the bottle, throws it out the ring, and he goes, and they carry on. And then he starts his promo, but, someone threw a bottle. Now, people are actually saying online, oh, it was part of the story. No, it wasn't. No, it was not. For two reasons. One, it would have been spoken about on commentary, which it wasn't. And two, there are videos out there where you can see the guy throw the bottle on this, where the crew side is. So you have camera facing and camera side. Most people want to be on camera side, where you're going to be on camera, and then camera facing is where the camera is facing towards the ring. I think I've got that the right way around. It might have been called something else, so I do apologise if I got that the wrong way around. Basically, he was on the side where the camera was, so you wouldn't have seen the person throw the bottle. But yeah, really shocking. And the other thing is, people that, going back to what I was saying about people saying, oh, it's part of the act and all that, you saw the guy, and fair play to the security guard on this video. He literally threw the bottle, went down, and I think he was going to pick up another one, or like his jacket to run out, and literally just as he leant down, the security guard put his hand on him and just started pulling him away, and the video ended there. But they were on it quickly, very, very quick. I think they were on it before Cena even threw the bottle out of the ring, seriously. So yeah, but that does not happen often, not on these shows, and especially now it's live, it's live TV, so anything can happen. Especially when people forget that when you're in the arena and you're watching SmackDown or Raw in person, it's a different vibe than watching it on TV. Honestly, I forget that it's on TV when I'm at the events. I genuinely do. Mania was a bit different because it was in a stadium. But even when I was at like Money in the Bank, and Clash of the Castle, I forgot that it was on TV multiple times. But it happened, and we move on. Cena, as I said, was saying that I'm going to ruin your childhood and all that, and he gave some statistics that I think I can remember. So he said that it's almost 25 years since me and Randy Orton made our first appearance together. I'm 27. That scares the shit out of me. 25 years. What? Anyway, they've had over 100 matches. Over 100 appearances with each other together. This isn't like their appearances all the time. Just appearances of them doing promos or something like that together. They've had over 100 of them. And they've had over 36 title matches. I'm sorry. How is there 36 of them? I think they faced each other for pay-per-views nearly like 8 times. It's ridiculous. And he was saying that if you're between the age of 12 and 50, your childhood will be ruined because you were the guys that watched us growing up. And I thought, oh my God. And he's got a point. This is the last time you're going to see probably one of the best rivalries in the WWE. Ever. I'm being honest. When they say it's Randy versus Cena, it's going to be brilliant. They work so well together. When they're doing the promos, they've just been on it. Well, I say they've been on each other with the mic. Let's be honest, every time Cena's gone to make a promo, he just gets RKO'd and it ends it, really. So, but of course, the most interesting thing to me about tonight's promo with John Cena was just as he finished and threw his mic to the floor, someone runs into the ring. And we're going, it's Randy. And it's not. and we don't know who it is. Now, they were wearing an RKO jumper, completely zipped up. They were wearing a mask, and the hood was completely down. So you could just about see the eyes and just a tiny bit of the forehead. That was it. And because it happened so quickly, there's no real good shot of, the eyes. So you can't really, find a picture, look at the eyes, find the colour of them, and then look. Now, the other thing I noticed is they were wearing black wristbands on both arms. They had tattoos as well. Very obvious tattoos. But these were tattoos in areas that I don't think we would have seen. Let me explain. They were the wristband came up to here, and the hoodie came up to here. So it was just this area here that you could see the tattoo. And it was on both arms. And to me, it looked like it was like a black. They were both black, and they looked like like dark tattoos. That to me, one looked a bit like, I'd say almost like a wooden eggshell kind of shape, or like the throne from Game of Thrones. It looked a bit like that, and then the other one kind of had like I want to say like the tribal lines or something like it on it. But of course there was that. They were very, very skinny. That's another thing I noticed. They were very skinny, and definitely one of the shorter people we would see in the ring. And they were either mixed race or they had a very obvious tan on. And the thing that I'm trying to work out is that obviously someone is going to attack in this match tonight. Now, I've got two theories. One of them I've seen online, and one of them has come to me by myself. I'll go with the one that has appeared online. I think it's possible, but again, when they were down on the ground, I don't think the signs for it to be this person were there. And the person everyone's saying it is actually Becky Lynch. And they're saying that it's Becky because she's going to join Seth and Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman. Now that would be very interesting, and I can see that happening. However, to me, it didn't look like a female's body. They were, as I said, they were short and they were very skinny, but I don't think it was a female's body. Plus the fact I am nearly 99% convinced, because I've done my research, that Becky doesn't have any tattoos. I mean, now I think of it, could it be, why would it be Rhea Ripley? Why would it be Rhea Ripley? And again, I think she's taller than the person that was there. And again, as I said, it didn't look like a woman's body. Put it that way. But then there's the person I thought of. And I'd love this to be right. And if I get this right and you watch the live tonight on TikTok, and I'm back here tomorrow, it will be the same as my reaction of WrestleMania when Paul Heyman turned on both of them, and it was Seth he was actually on the side of. If you've seen the vlog, you would have seen that moment. I just knew that's where it was going. And if I get it right, I would be so happy. I honestly think there is a possibility that could have been CM Punk. It was about his height. I think he was a bit more built up, but again, he was wearing like a sweater, so it could have been hiding some of it. And plus the fact Punk wears white wristbands on both hands, and it covers all the way up to about here. And I've looked, and I've never ever seen a tattoo of this part of his arm. But we know he is tattooed from the wrist downwards all the way up. I mean, he's got the blinking Pepsi logo tattooed on him, and he made a decent amount off that. And he is, he's one of the smaller guys. He's not as built out, and he has tattoos, but they're not in obvious places. Another thing that I noticed was, and the reason why I think it's a bloke, is that it was almost like a ninja mask they were wearing, because as I said, you could only see like from here to there. So this bit was covered up as well. So was that covering up like a beard or something? I don't know. But that is very interesting. I realised I forgot to mention one thing. There was also a promo for Gunther versus Pat McAfee tonight. It was just a replay of everything that's been going on. One little quick thing on that. It's got to be Gunther that wins this match. It has to. Because if it's not Gunther, they've just ruined his career. For him tapping out and then losing to a commentator. Nothing against Pat McAfee. Nothing against him at all. But you cannot have him win this match. But, yeah, no, going back to what I was saying, who will it be? Who will be that secret opponent? Who will be? No, they may not even attack tonight. But I don't think it would have happened the night before the match. For no reason. But yes, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our SmackDown Spotlight for this week. Of course, as you know, tonight is Backlash. I will be live on TikTok, where you can find me at CrickCharlie. We will be live during the entire evening with my live reactions. And then, of course, there will be another video, which will probably get to you guys by Monday, with my full reactions of what went down at Backlash. But for now, I've been Charlie. This has been Before the Free Count. See ya.